Hello, 7th grade. This is Miss White, and today we're doing lesson 1%. So our opening exercise here is matching. So we're going to match the percents with the correct sentence clues. So let's look at our first sentence clue. I am half of a half. Or I am 5 cubic inches of water filled in a 20 cubic inch bottle. So we can look at this as that I am half of a half. So if I have half and a half, to figure out what that is, I'm going to multiply these together. When I multiply a fraction, I'm going to multiply my numerators together and then my denominators. So I know that 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 2 is 4. So I get 1/4. If I do the same thing with 5 over 20, because that means I have 5 inches of water filled in a 20 cubic inch bottle. When I simplify these by 4, I also get 1/4. When we think about percents, we have to think of that value out of 100. So here I have 25%. This means if I was going to write this percentage as a fraction, it would be 25 over 100. If I had 50%, that means it's going to be 50 over 100. And so on and so forth through all the percentages below. Now what it wants us to do is to match the number sentence to the percentage. So I know that I have 1/4 from my first number sentence here. Let's match it to the percentage that follows over here. Because I have 1/4, I can think about this like quarters. If I have 1 out of 4 quarters, which makes $1, that means I have 25 cents. So now I know that the percentage, 25%. So let's go ahead and match those. The next number sentence, I am less than 1 over 100, and 25 out of 5,000 contestants won a prize. Looking here, we have 1 over 100. When we write that as a percentage, we are going to have 1%. But remember, it says that I am less than 1%. So which over here is going to be less than 1%? Well, that is going to be 0.5%. Let's go ahead and match that one. The next number sentence, I am the chance of birthing a boy or a girl. So when we have a boy or a girl, that is 2 options. And so we're either going to get one or the other. So the outcome is either going to be one of those out of those 2 outcomes. So that is 1/2. If we flip a coin and it will land on heads or tail. Again, we have 2 options, but we're only going to receive 1. So that's going to be 1 out of 2. 1/2 is going to give us 50%. The next number sentence, I am less than half but more than 1/4. 15 out of 50 play drums in a band. I think the best way to go about this is to have 15 over 50 and then simplify. We both know that 5 can be simplified into these 2 numbers. So 15 divided by 5 is going to give us 3, and 50 divided by 5 is going to give us 10. So now I have 3 over 10, which is going to give me 30%. Now, I am equal to 1, and 35 questions out of 35 questions were answered correctly. Well, let's think about this on a test. If you scored 35 points out of 35 points, what percentage did you receive? Well, you received 100%. So we're going to go ahead and match that. This one says, I am more than 1. Instead of the 1,200 expected to be raised, 3,600 was collected for the school fundraiser. So 3,600 was collected when 1,200 was the expected. So the percentage here, if we took 36,000 and divided by 1,200, well, what is that going to give us? Well, it's going to give us 3. Now we need to match 3 to the percent. If 1 is equal to 100%, then 3 is equal to 300%. So we're going to go ahead and match that. The next one, I am a tenth of a tenth 1 penny is part of $1. So if I have 1/10 times 1/10, I have 1 over 100, which is going to give me 1%. And then if I have 1 penny out of $1, which we know $1 is 100 pennies, then that's also going to be 1%. So we're going to match that there. I am less than 1/4, but more than 100th. 11 out of 111 earned is saved in the bank. So here I can have 11 out of 110 equals, well, I can simplify this by 11. So when I simplify 11 and 110 by 11, I'm going to get 1 over 10. And 1 over 10 is going to give me 10%. All right, now we're going to move on to the next page to exercise 2. Color in the grid to represent the following fractions. Here in A through C, we are given a chart of 100 squares. So it wants us to fill in how many squares is out of 100. So here we have 3 over 100, which means we're going to color 30 of those squares. So here I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I know that 10 times 3 is going to give me 30. So I am going to color in all of these squares here. Okay, I understand Miss White is not being very precise with the coloring, but it is what it is. All right, now we have 3 out of 100. Well, 3 out of 100 means we're only going to color in how many squares? Well, 3. So here we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then C. Ooh, this one's tricky. We have 1/3 of a square out of 100 squares. So what this means is that we're going to actually be coloring in 1/3 of a square. So here's the square that we're going to use. You can really use any square you like. It just needs to be one square. But now we need to make 1/3 of that square. I'm going to make this square 3 separate parts. And then I'm going to fill in one of those because I need 1 out of the 3 parts of that one square. And that's it. Now let's move to example 1. It says use the definition of the word percent to write each percent as a fraction and then as a decimal. First of all, the definition of the word percent is when the number P over 100 and the symbol, which is the percent symbol, means percent. So the number P that represents the percent is always going to be out of 100. So when we write 37.5% as a fraction, it's going to be the percent, which is 37.5 over 100. Like here, that's given in our definition. When we write this as a decimal, we're going to have 0.375. Now looking at 100%, if I have 100 over 100, what is that going to give me? Well, it's going to give me 1. So when I write 1 as a decimal, it's going to be 1. It's just a whole value, the whole value of 1. Then looking at 110%. So now I'm going to have 110 over 100. And to figure this one out, I can simplify both of these values by 10. So when I have 110 divided by 10, that's going to give me 11. And then 100 divided by 10 is going to give me 10. I can also write this as a mixed number since my numerator is larger than my denominator. And that's going to give me 1 over 10. When I write this as a decimal, I know that I'm going to have 1 as my whole number. And then I need to represent my fraction as in decimal form, which is 1/10. Well, 1 over 10 is going to give me 1/10. So we have 1.1. Now, if you feel comfortable, what we need to remember is that the 0.1 is in the tenths place. So this means 1 over 10. Now I have 1%. So now I'm going to write that as a fraction as 1 over 100. So when I have 1 over 100, I'm going to represent that in decimal form as 0.01. Now, the reason why we have to have 0.01 is because the 1 is now in the hundredths place, so that means that it's 1 out of 100, which is what's in our fraction form. Now I have 1/2 over 100. So again, we can write this as 1/2 over 100. And in decimal form, that is going to give us 0.005. So for lesson 1 today, we need to know that 1% is the number of 1 over 100 is written as 1%. The number p% is the same as the number p over 100. And usually there are 3 ways to write a number: as a percent, a fraction, and a decimal. The fraction and decimal forms of p% are equivalent to p over 100. All right, great job today, guys. See you in class.